Hey, it's Edna here. Welcome to the 7-Figure Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello, good day, everyone. This is Edna with 7-Figure Real Estate, and today I have with me two very well-known people from Vancouver, a real estate developer, realtor with accountant background, August and Ava. And how I'd just like to put this forward is just have a general conversation. But instead of me butchering your introduction, I would like you to tell me, what was your start in real estate? What got you started in real estate? And then we're going to go into where you're branching off into now.
Great, of course.
First, we want to say thank you for giving us the honor of being on your show. And we've seen you on many different platforms, and you're definitely a thought leader in this space. So we're glad to be on here and add some value to your listeners and viewers. Yes. Would you like to go first,
Sure,
Ava?
Yeah, I would love to. And thanks, Edna, for having us today. A little bit about my background. I was a real estate agent for about a decade, and I worked with a lot of real estate investors. And I saw this massive need that real estate investors would come to me and they'd want to put their money into real estate. And there was a lot of pain points that existed throughout my career. The high point of entry here in Vancouver, the rent to value ratios. Most times when you bought one single property, you would be in the negative cash flow. There's a fine line being this passive investor or an active investor. So essentially, about 2 years ago when I met August, we kind of came together, and he'll tell you a little bit about his background, but we had this passion for helping people passively invest in real estate and build wealth passively. So that's a little bit about my background and where I come from. And
Awesome.
Go ahead, August.
Yeah, and if I may, my background is starting out as a real estate agent 16 years ago. I wasn't very good at being a real estate agent, but I was good at finding deals. So I started my own general contracting company doing small fix and flips, and eventually scaling to do luxury single family homes. I always wanted to scale, I always wanted to grow my company. So at that time I didn't know what syndicating was, but I syndicated a multifamily development, a townhouse development, where I found a project, brought on the investors, brought on the marketing and design and the construction team, and I fell in love with that concept of being the sponsor or being the syndicator. Unfortunately, the projects that I was looking at, especially here in Vancouver, the ground up development projects, the time horizon is very long. There is no element of cash flow, and you got different issues with bureaucracies at every different level of government. Sometimes, you got public hearings, environmental issues, and because the projects take such a long time, you might be doing your pro forma when you first enter, and by the time you're selling your units, the numbers are completely changing. So I was always looking for a different type of asset class, and also for my own network of investors to be able to have some form of cash flow starting out. And when Ava and I connected just over 2 years ago, we realized this investment opportunities that existed across the border in the US, in this concept of multifamily value add, and we fell in love with it. And
we fell in love, and the rest is history, because we made it funny enough, we both were like, you know what, this is incredible, and we want to bring these type of incredible opportunities to our fellow Canadians. So we put a halt on our careers, and we full-time dove in to building this company from the ground up, where we can now help busy professionals earn passive income through investing in U.S. multifamily real estate.
So what market sorry about that. What market do you guys find your best deals in right now?
Yeah, as far as the market, we're agnostic when it comes to the markets we want to be in. Initially, when CPI started, the plans was for CPI to be the operator, to find the deals, to underwrite the deals, to do the physical due diligence, the financing, and then go in and do the value add and manage the properties. But as time went on, and we realized how much time goes into building our thought leadership platform, cultivating and nurturing relationship with investors, which is a very important component of it. We realized that, hey, our time is spent so much on building this company and our investors, it might make sense to possibly contract out the portion of finding the deals and the initial underwriting and management. So our business model definitely changed. So as far as the markets, we just follow numbers. As long as we hit these few fundamental keys is job growth, population growth, income growth, and crime reduction. If a city consistently shows that in the last 3 years, that's a city and a region you want to be in. Obviously, there's other metrics we look at, cap rates and a few other numbers. But currently our top 4 regions is Arizona, Texas, Florida, and North and South Carolina.
Okay. We have some similarities. We like Florida and Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee is one of the areas that we're finding good numbers. But like you said, it all depends on the numbers. So you've kind of partnered up with some other people they're kind of boots on the ground for you. How do they present deals to you? Do you like them to pull together all the numbers, have financing in place, and then you're looking for the investors, or how do you make that work?
Yeah, great question. I mean, if I may.
Yeah, please go ahead.
No, it's a great question. But again, going back kind of to CPI's inception, the plan was to be the operator. But when we realized of how much work goes into kind of managing everything, we realized that we could partner with active operators in these regions that we want to be in. And so the plan came as who is the right operator to partner with. So we realized that the larger companies like the Blackstones of the world, the multi-billion-dollar companies might not be the right fit, and also smaller groups that have just started out might not be. They might be doing a great job, but they might not be the right fit because we're bringing our investors and putting our good name on the project. So we had a certain requirements for the active operators. They need to have at least $100 million assets under management. That's under management, not transactions. Assets currently under management. They need to show performance on the deals that they had done. They need to have a deal that had gone through the full cycle. That means they purchased it, done the value add, and they've sold the deal. And that was on the kind of numbers and the metrics. But then on the back end, it was how open were they? How transparent were they with us? Were they willing to, open up their books, let us speak to some of their past investors, be very, business friendly with us, and on a personal level. So there is definitely a personal touch as well when it comes to groups that we look to partner with, and we have partnered with. Yeah. It's been a great partnership, but it's a very up close and personal connection.
Exactly. And if I could add to that, August and I really wanted to, there's only 2 of us here, right? So we're like, why don't we partner with the best operators on that side and have deal flow coming in so we can cherry pick the best deals to present to our investors here on this side of the border. So we thought, you know what, this is a team sport. There's so much that's involved in each step. August likes to say this pie thing, which I'm sure he'll get into. But you know what, that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted the best deals, and we didn't want to be stuck in one location, because if we were to be the operators ourselves, we'd have to start out in Arizona, of course, and then slowly grow. And we're like, you know what, for now, our dreams and aspirations are to be the operator, but for now, why don't we cherry pick the best markets, get some deal flow coming in, and cherry pick the best deals to present to our...
You might eventually find that you like handing off the operating side. I know I do. And I honestly believe that that's been what's allowed us to grow, is because we didn't get stuck in the operating side. I think that is where the time, so much time has to be spent. And as capital raisers, which basically you guys are, I think there's huge value for you to bring to every single deal and then get a piece of it. So you may decide to just stay on this side and never get into the operating side.
Definitely. It could be a possibility, and raising money is somewhat of an art. Now, as far as the structure we've created with our partnership on the U.S. side, for it to be compliant on the U.S. side when it comes to SEC, we do have to play a management role on the U.S. operation. So we cannot be just a capital raising entity. So we do have duties and responsibilities when it comes to investor relations, underwriting, and some other management roles roles that we have within the project. But so there is some involvement on that side. But you're absolutely right, Edna. It's like Eva was mentioning this. I like to call this kind of business of real estate private equity or syndicated real estate investments. It's a pie divided into three pieces. You got the equity piece, basically is the money raising piece of the pie. You got the acquisition, the finding the deal, underwriting it, the financing, and then the other piece of the pie is management value add. So it depends. Where is your expertise? Where is your experience best fit? Where can you add the most value within this kind of team sport and partnership? And for us, it's definitely been on that equity raising portion of it, but we do have some involvement, obviously, on the GP side, and continuously educate ourselves and gain knowledge in this space.
But that's the greatest part. You focus on what you're good at, and then the scalability, the sky's the limit in this business. And that's the best part.
Yeah, absolutely. And the deals don't get done if there's no money, right?
True.
I know the other stuff all happens, like you have to find the deal for sure. But there's lots of times I've noticed that people have been able to find the deals. They're maybe really good operators. And that's when you mentioned like the strengths matter so much, but they couldn't raise money if their life depended on it. So that's where good partnerships are formed, right? I actually encourage my students to, if you're struggling in one area, don't ever let that stop you. Just go find somebody who's good at that, right? It makes such a difference. With them. Yeah. And I do appreciate the fact that you guys are involved in the underwriting and still, and I mean, I think as a capital raise, you have to stay involved in that level as well, because you need to know what's going on, right? You need to know how to underwrite deals yourself. Even if you're not doing it all, you still need to know how, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then have the responsibility. So what are some of the projects that you're working on now that you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, so
we just closed on a project in Florida.
In Orlando, Florida. It was a 354 unit, Class A asset.
With a value add component.
With a value add component.
The misconception is that a lot of time in value add multifamily that the asset has to be built in the 80s, that hasn't been renovated anytime soon. But this concept of value add is not limited only to renovation. There's other ways you could add value. It could be a project that's being managed by the owner themselves, as there's no third-party property manager involved. It's being obviously mismanaged, or certain high-tech items are not being utilized within the asset. The loss to lease, or many other issues that could be in place. For this particular asset, it was the fact that a developer had just recently built it. They were in a situation where they had started their next project, where it was even a larger project than this, and they needed equity for their next deal, so they had to sell the project, and they quickly had filled it up to 90% occupancy, and they put it on the market, and put it on the
market with 15 to 18% rents below market value,
because they had to fill it up before they could sell it.
We got super lucky, and there was a little seller's remorse after, actually, because COVID just opened up at the time. I mean, they're filling this property up 30 plus leases a month during COVID. The assets were the best performing assets during COVID. It was just incredible. But there's a little seller's remorse after, because we just happened to get it under contract at the right time, and the multifamily boomed right after there in Florida. So there is these, like August was saying.
Orlando, the Orlando market went through the roof right after this. The deal went under contract. But again, luck is also part of the whole. Luck is very helpful when it comes in the right time. Like timing and luck is very important. And I think we did get lucky there a bit as well. But yeah, that was our most recent deal that we closed on. And I mean, the advice that I could possibly give your listeners and viewers is also about the large numbers. A lot of time people create these limitations just in their mind. This was a $92 million asset. I mean, that's USD. That's over $100 million. Good old Ava and August over here. The thought of being involved in such a Goliath of a deal was tremendous. But when we did it, we created our fund of fund structure, brought on our Canadian investors to be able to invest into the asset, made sure that it's a tax efficient structure, and partnered with a superstar team on the US side and bought the asset. And now we can brag and advertise that we have a $92 million asset under management. So,
but Edna, this is the thing. These are institutional size, quality assets, and how incredible is it that retail investors can pool together their capital and build wealth like the rich build wealth? Yeah, I was just saying that. The beauty of this is this. These multifamily assets are really made for the big institutions of the world. These are institutional quality assets. And how incredible is it that retail investors can show up and be part of this and build wealth like the rich build wealth, right? And I always tell that to my investors. A current opportunity that we're working on is the Blue Water apartment homes at Bolton's Landing in South Carolina, and it's actually open for investment as we speak.
Charleston, South Carolina, and again, see, like being versatile. We can see this project that came in. We've been looking at Charleston for a long time because of the immense job growth, and people are moving there from New York State. Boeing is there. A lot of Fortune 500 companies are there. A lot of jobs.
A lot of new residents every single day.
At some point, a few months back, Ava and I were thinking about possibly moving to the U.S. or having a secondary home in the U.S. And Charleston came up on our top of our list. So that's the next project that we're currently looking at. Not looking at. We have an accepted offer on, and we're raising on. We have a closing on August 26th.
26th, yeah.
So what criteria do you put out for potential investors?
Criteria for the asset or for the...
No, for the investor. Like, do they have to be an accredited investor or anything like that?
Yeah. So these opportunities that we present are only open to accredited investors.
Okay. Initially starting out, the plan was to this concept of democratizing real estate investing, letting the everyday person get involved in these wealth building machines. But unfortunately, what we realized early on was that the system has been built to keep the everyday man down. Because these opportunities are available for the accredited investors. The accredited investors, as you know very well, is someone who is a high net worth individual. And the process is very simple for them to invest. But because of the restrictions that exist, makes it very difficult for us to allow everyday people to get involved. Security Commission sees accredited investors that if they lose a little bit of money, that's not a big deal, and everyday people can really, partake. But also goes back to the kind of the information and the platform we've created is to also assist others to be on the road, the non-accredited investors, to become accredited investors, and then they can have the ability to be involved in these investments. So that's the mindset. If you're watching this or you're listening to this, and if you're not an accredited investor, the goal and plan should be to be accredited, and then so many other doors will open.
Yeah, it really does. It does open a lot more doors, and it protects you as well, because sometimes stuff can go wrong, and they have to be able to at least ride the storm. Look at back in 2008 and 2009 in the US, like a lot of people, it hit the wall and they just couldn't even move forward. And that's bad enough for people who've got a lot of funds that they can recoup, and really devastating for ones that don't. So good for you that you focused on that. So how many units is the one in South Carolina?
350 units.
Oh, 350. Oh,
yeah,
beautiful.
It's a three-story garden style apartment community, spread over 78 acres of land, and it's in the submarket of West Ashley, and it's a true Class A asset.
But again, there's a value add component.
There's a beautiful value add
2018, 2019 built. It was built in two phases, but the developer originally that built it, they didn't use very high-end appliances, and it's got a few other, it's in a great market. It's great. It's built well, but with a few items that are missing out, and the rents are substantially below market.
So going in there and doing a value add on a newer asset, but things like changing the black appliances out for stainless steel appliances, things like changing the color scheme, really making the interior, I think we're planning on spending about $6,000 per unit, making the interior look beautiful, because the outside has such a beautiful southern charm to it.
The exterior
right?
is very nice.
The exterior is very beautiful as well. So, and then we're planning on doing some upgrades on the exterior, little things like, everybody shops online now, so we want to add a package room. The Carolinas.
Well, that's a good idea. Really?
Yeah, right. So add a package room, with all the space that exists in these properties in the U.S. Because there's so much land. We're going to add dog park, more, extend the pool and sun decks.
Parkings are free. That certain parkings will be paid parkings now.
So you got to get creative when you come to these value add opportunities. For an example, mosquitoes are bad in Charleston. So there's a rent premium that we could do by just adding a simple mosquito net on the outside of the porches. So little things like that are all value add opportunities. And we're planning on increasing the rents by about 10% on each unit. So all these little things, even though it's a class A, we can still do this value add and bump the rents up.
Yes, but this only could happen because the market research we've done and in the literally on our deal presentation, you can see that the rents for Blue Water are lower than every other comparable in this area, and the rents are substantially lower than there. So there is room to push it. So that's another thing that investors need to look for, is that there might be an option, but is there room for it? If the rents are already at its max, even if you have creative ways you could possibly increase rents, it just doesn't economically make sense. So there needs to be room there, and then you can be creative to then bump the rents up.
And as Edna, you probably know, finding a property that's poorly managed is a big part of all of this, right? With the rents being below.
And it happens more often than not. Well, not more often than not, but it happens enough times that's how you get your deals, right? Yeah, totally get it. That's how we got our deals in Memphis too, was inactive landlords. Like, they just were not on top of it. They had hired a management company and just didn't stay on top of them. And you can't do that. You got to be actively involved all the time. So what time frame, when you're looking for investment capital, what time frame are you looking for people to be paid out or bought out, or how do you structure that?
Yeah, so
the projects are a 5-year term. That's the initial kind of forecasted term that we look at. Is that 3 years for refinance, could possibly be sooner. We ensure that the project is cash flowing from day one. There isn't a significant amount of capex that are needed on the project, hence why most of them are Class A, Class B. We do monthly distributions from the first month. That's
with a preferred return sort of
preferred
thing?
returns. That's another thing that you talked about, kind of how do we pick the partners that we have on US side and the deals. Every deal we look at has to have a preferred return on the deal. That's how because we want to be in this business for the next 20, 30, possibly 40 years. And our good name is on it. We are investing in our deals. Our family, our friends, our business associates are investing in the deals. So it's very important to have that preferred returns. And just for your viewers, preferred returns are returns that are provided that go to investors, which the general partner does not partake in any upside until the limited partners have reached those preferred returns. So all our deals have preferred returns.
Mm-hmm. And in the 5-year time frame, you would sell, or would you refinance and hold on to it long term?
The plan is probably to sell. It's probably to sell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huge upside there. Okay, perfect. Well, you know what? I love the business model. I like what you're doing. It totally makes sense. How do people find you?
So we're really active on LinkedIn, Edna. Okay. So Ava Benesocky on LinkedIn. August Biniaz on LinkedIn. We also have our website that you can contact us, cpicapital.ca.
On LinkedIn, CPI Capital, our YouTube show, Canadian Passive Investing Academy. Google Ava Benesocky. She's a CEO that's very easy to get a hold of. She's head of our investor relations. We're
just a phone call away. Really easy to get a hold of.
Perfect. And August, you mentioned the other day that you educate to a certain extent. How does that work for people that, like, do you educate your potential investors, or do you educate people on how to do what you're doing?
Yeah, the educational portion, we have not monetized it or created a course or what have you. It's more done as part of building ourselves as thought leaders. So we have MeetUp Groups that we have events where we go on and we bring on experts to talk to, people that join. Ava and I spend 2 hours per week talking to starting investors, some investors who've been in the space for a long time, advising them in different aspects such as marketing, their investor sales funnel or their intake funnel, capital raising advice that we can give. So it's not really a monetized process, but it's more kind of
just kind of giving back. If I could give some advice to anybody getting started as a passive or active investor, it's really have somebody to look up to so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Because I know we've built this company from the ground up and we had to build systems and recreate systems and build systems out again, and it was a lot. So if you can have that kind of person you can look up to, whether it's in passive investing or being an active investor, that is the best advice I can give.
Talking about people to look up to, Edna right here, I watch her videos on YouTube, Free Coaching Fridays on LinkedIn. I watch her videos. She's everywhere. So
awesome,
talking about
Edna.
a mentor, talking about a thought leader. She's my unsolicited mentor right here. Edna is, and she's truly tremendous in this space.
She is.
And for people who want to learn more, I definitely advise them to get in touch with you, Edna, and you're doing great things in this space.
Thank you so much. And I encourage people to reach out to you guys if they want to invest in the US, because I do like what you're doing, exactly what we like to do too. Value add, that's where you get that huge upside. And those numbers and the size of the buildings that you're working with and the Class A, I love all of that put together. So I'm excited to see where this takes you. We'll definitely stay in touch. So thank you very, very much for being on the show. This is very educational for people, and all the stuff you mentioned will actually get in the show notes, so people will have a way to reach out to you. And I'll encourage people to follow Ava on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you, Edna. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening. It's my sincere intention that you got value from this episode. If you're interested in learning more about building your passive income through real estate, either by investing with us as a joint venture partner or as a student discovering how you can attract investors to your deals and build your own 7-figure real estate portfolio by helping others build their passive income, check out my website, ednakeep.com, or watch my free masterclass at ednakeep.com/90days to 5K.